I mean, no. Thank you. Ancestral territories of the Navesity Rancheria Nisenan tribe. Roll call, please, Amy.
Let's see, Commissioner Van Zant is absent. Commissioner Brown?
Here.
Commissioner Ermshar?
Here.
Vice Chair Cobden?
Here.
And Chair Nye.
Here. Pledge allegiance. Lead us today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, asking now for public comment for any item not on the agenda. Anything not on the agenda?
We do have two people joining us virtually. One, two, they're going back and forth. If anybody watching via Zoom, I think we only have one person in the audience, and he's here for an item on the agenda, so anybody that's on the agenda. I took a long time to say that, and no one's putting their hand up, so.
That was well said, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so public comment for items not on the agenda closed. Let's move to the consent calendar. Does anyone have an item they want removed or to discuss?
I move that we approve the items on the consent calendar.
And we do have to open that up to the public, too, but just, we have to ask anyone from the public.
Consent calendar, which are meeting minutes.
Anybody out in the Zoom world want to raise their virtual hand? Not seeing any.
And actually, I wonder if, never mind.
Okay, so public comment closed. We have a
Motion to-
Motion,
Second.
second. Shall we?
A third?
Approved.
Approved. Yeah.
Yes.
Aye.
No nos. Uh-oh, and now comes the reorganization of the Planning Commission. Can you conduct us through that, Amy?
Yeah, and just to kind of preempt it a little bit, I just want to remind, and I didn't remember this until this same commission, but they moved to postpone reorganization. We usually do it at fiscal year, which aligns with city councils, elections and just the fiscal year season. So they elected or they voted to postpone it till January. So your chair and your vice chair have only been in their positions since January this year. And you can, it's up to the commission, but you can elect them again. There's no rules against that, so.
Or are we able to postpone it 6 months again?
You can, but I do want to get us back on our regular cycle, because what could happen if off their cycle and then there's a new appointee and they're, it's just better if it's all aligned with the same council cycle.
So can you describe the process?
Yeah, what's the
for us?
process?
Someone just would have to nominate, motion to nominate a chair, and then a nomination, and then they'd have to second. So it's just kind of like a regular item, but you nominate, someone makes a motion to nominate the chair, we take a vote, and then nominate the vice chair, and we take a vote.
In the spirit of continuity of our planning commission and also continuity with the terms for our city council, I'm
Amy seconded. Yeah.
So that's a third. Roll call.
All right, Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Ermshar.
yes.
Commissioner, or Vice, I don't know, I guess, Vice Chair Cobden.
Yes.
Chair Nye.
Sure.
And
You could
Peters.
vote against yourself, I suppose.
Okay, and then Vice Chair.
I'd like to renominate Amy Cobden as vice chair.
I'll second.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Ermshar.
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden.
Sure.
Chair Nye.
I mean, yes. Just experiment.
With whatever happened. Yeah. Russ is saying I did.
Okay.
Okay. Back in the saddle again. Okay, on to item 4, hanging kiosk sign for Rejuvenation Science. And let's,
So I need to recuse myself from items 4 through 6.
Oh, man.
I know, due to proximity to my business. Yeah. See ya.
have a nice time out in recusal land.
Wow.
Okay, well, Amy, will you queue up the item for us?
Yes, and I'm not seeing that did I not attach the actual exhibit? I think I didn't, but it's the same as what's in here. And we have our applicant here, and our applicant can join us up at the top if you want to speak into the mic, and I'll do a brief introduction here, but you are welcome to address the commission if they have any questions for you.
So we'll hear Amy's presentation, and then ask you to present anything you'd like to say, and then we'll ask some questions and whatnot.
Okay.
All right. Amy first.
Trying to do a couple screens at once, so sorry, forgive me. Okay, so business owner Douglas DeBecker is requesting approval for his sign at, called Rejuvenation Science at 421 Broad Street. At the last meeting, we had his neighboring business here with a sign at the same kiosk sign out in the front of the building, and I believe this one was going to go above it, is, if I recall, that's what, it was going to go above the acupuncture, Gold Point acupuncture sign. It's going to be an MDO wood sign. Background will be a gloss white. Lettering and graphics are a gradation of green to gold. That's the best way I could describe that. The sign graphics are a peacock feather. It will be two-sided. Dimensions are 2 by 2, so the total square feet of both sides is 8 square feet. And the lettering style is True Golden, which is a font style that's recommended in our design guidelines. And that's all I have.
Anything you'd like to add to what
Well,
Amy
just
said?
that this is like a building that has several practitioners in it, and so she's the first sign. Just something for you guys to know. There'll be another sign also that's already been, I think it's already been submitted. The same person's working on it that worked on our signs, Will, at Grass Valley Signs. If it hasn't been submitted, it's going to be. Yeah, she will be submitting it. So there'll be.
It was an acupuncture studio, right? Is that?
Yeah, so there's different acupuncturists, and they each have their own
Oh, okay,
kind of
okay.
like business, and, yeah, so this is like the building that's hosting them,
Mhm.
and then they're gonna have their plaques underneath it, yeah.
Okay.
In addition to hosting them, we have like a retail shop and stuff like this.
When you say she's the first sign, do you mean the
Yeah.
sign that we approved last meeting?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Welcome. Yeah. So, yeah, it'll have it's already had classes, and it has a retail shop. The retail is being developed a little bit more.
So Rejuvenation Science is the business or the group that hosts
Yeah,
these
the host.
these
It's the-
practitioners.
Yeah,
Oh, I
exactly.
see, okay.
Okay.
That's why, just to give some context of why it's like different and,
Mhm.
yeah.
And larger at the.
And larger, yeah, exactly. And different, it's square instead of the rectangle.
Any other, Rod or Amy, have any questions?
I don't think I have any questions.
Okay, so are there any public comments? Anyone present or anyone online who'd like to make a comment on this application?
Anyone out there in virtual land wants to raise their virtual hand? I also have a call-in listener, but I don't know if they have, I don't know how if they can raise their hand. I think there's a way for them to, oh, someone's got their hand raised. I figure out how to maybe let the caller do it. Oh, the caller's gone. Franz, if you can hear us, I think I've allowed you to talk. Oh, he's got his hand up, although I think he's here for another item.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Yes.
All right. So I'm connected and I can see you, but I can't see myself here on the screen. But I can follow whatever's going on, so if there's anything, I can probably address any questions if there may be any.
Yeah, Franz, we're not quite on your item yet. We are on a sign item, an agenda item before you. So I'm gonna pull you up, but when I pull you in for your item, I think I should be able to let you show your camera on. So I'm gonna remove you. Okay, he removed himself. Okay.
Okay, so there's no public comment apparently?
Nope.
All right.
Nobody else.
So comments, discussion now from the commission on this application?
I did have a comment about the coloring of the gold. It seemed like the fade, or whatever you like to call it, the gold, green to gold fade seemed to be trying to reflect or mimic a shine or something like that. I'm wondering if, maybe this is a question from before, maybe did you consider just a straight gold color that would give that natural reflectivity or look?
Yeah, it actually was originally a darker color, even darker than it is now. And it was we had like a little design crew, and it was their suggestion to kind of make it. It wasn't meant to be a reflection, kind of like you have this almost reflective quality on the phi ratio symbol behind the peacock feather. It was just a way of, this was their suggestion to give it more color and balance, kind of, instead of just like a gold.
I guess to me, it came across as sort of imitating a reflection, and my thought was that just a more of a pure gold, whether gold paint or a gold leaf or something like that, would actually give that effect and look more in keeping with the motherlode style of, something that might have been done, versus that fade looks more like of a modern effect to me. That
Yeah,
wasn't necessarily going with that.
I wouldn't want it to be gold myself personally. I think I would, if you don't like it, I would ask the design people to just use the dark,
A dark color, a solid dark color.
solid dark.
Yeah.
That sum it up for you?
Yeah, that sums it up for me, yeah.
Amy?
To follow on Rod's comments, I also feel, I think that it might be more in keeping with the rest of the aesthetic in town, if it were, as it is right now, it's very slick. I think it's very produced. And I think that it might benefit from maybe taking a few production steps back in the same way that Rod was saying, maybe if you used multi or multi, that would, I think, really help it to cohese with the rest of the signs in town. And perhaps same with the letters. While the font is in keeping with what we recommend, there's something about the presentation of the font that feels too modern to me. And as a sign, I like it, but in terms of how it fits in with the rest of the town, I'm not sure that it's quite there yet.
Is that consistent with the rest of the signs that are out there? Because we definitely looked at a lot of the signs, and they seem to be a big scope of what was out there versus what was presented in the pages of what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. And so that's kind of what we kind of went in between those two things, like what's actually there and then what's the recommendation. Because the recommendation definitely was not consistent with the signs.
Well, the signs are not consistent with the rest.
Thank you, okay.
And I believe that part of that, having witnessed this evolution for decades now, it has a lot to do with the individuals on the planning commission and who's permitting what sign at what time, if I'm not mistaken. Because obviously these things are up to interpretation, so unfortunately you've got a bunch of critics that are confused on things. This is just my read on this, and I think it's come up before as well, and perhaps Chair and I will say it again, that there are always going to be some exceptions, and that can look really good, but it doesn't necessarily mean that every sign needs to be an exception
Yeah.
to the overarching theme. And again, I want to say that I like the sign. I just think like if you took a few different approaches to it and kept it the same, it would not have the same impression that it's holding you back right now.
I totally hear that, but it's, for me, it's vague of what that would mean, to take a
Right,
few
so
production
for-
steps
right,
back.
right. So specifically what I would do is lose the shading.
The gradient, you mean?
Yeah,
Uh-huh,
exactly. I would do all the letters and the O and the I in just the same gold or whatever color it is that you choose to do, whatever. you
Okay,
choose to do.
okay.
And with the feather, I'm not sure, like, I think I would have to see it the next step. And in fact, I'd be happy probably myself to approve it if it was just agreed that we would change those things. With the feather, I think it is almost too, again, produced. Like, it doesn't seem like something that would be hand painted in that particular way in the Motherlode style, and that could just be my take on it. Perhaps my fellow commissioners have different thoughts. So I'm going to stop there, unless you
Thank
have
you.
more questions.
No, I understand. I think the reflective quality on the O and the I is okay in your eyes. It's just the
No,
font.
I don't like it on any of them.
Oh, you don't like any of that reflective quality? Okay, because that's
And
supposed to
again,
make it look gold. It's like, if it's just plain gold color, then it doesn't really look gold.
Well, if you used gold leaf, it would do that. Is that too expensive? I don't know.
It seems like it would be. I don't know if
I'm
I'd
not- I mean,
invest
I
gold
guess-
leaf on my sign.
Well, I guess people could, or gold paint, some kind of metallic gold paint, would
Mhm.
also have
Okay.
that kind of sheen.
Yeah, I can ask him for that,
So,
just to, yeah, go ahead.
Not to interrupt, I'll just jump in at this
Yeah, jump
point.
in.
Yeah,
It's fine.
so, and just for your knowledge and the public's knowledge, we haven't discussed or coordinated a response to the design, like these are all our individual takes individually, so it's not like we've discussed this beforehand. So if you're hearing kind of unity in our what we're saying, it's our own individual takes on the interpretation of the ordinance as
Okay.
presented. So
But
just,
common things happen.
Or disparity for that matter.
yeah, or disparity too, which happens. So my feeling on this, and the illustrations in the design guidelines might be helpful if it's possible to pull those up. And, and so like personally, out of the Nevada City, Historic District context, this is beautiful symbol. It's beautiful. I mean, I really like this symbol, and the whole thing. So I mean no insults about the the composition, but the gradient finishing has a kind of a slick corporate logo look.
Oh, okay,
And-
that helps.
That's what I meant by over.
Which-
Okay.
Which like, that'd be great if you became like a whole brand.
Yeah,
But
and that's where it is kind of like, I think, how it was designed to be, as like, like a brand on something. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it really reads like, because it's kind of enigmatic, the ostrich feather in front of the.
Peacock feather.
Peacock feather in front of
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, it's the oldest written medicine system from South India. It's the person who kind of passed it down rode on a peacock, mythologically. That's where it comes from.
Yeah, it's really cool. But
Yeah,
if you
it's okay.
prefer, there are some illustrations in the design guidelines that show corporate logos.
The Bank of America one.
Yeah, Bank of America and others
It's in there.
sort of translated into.
Did I pass it? Or is-
No, it's there at the end. Translated into consistent, or it's not consistent, there's another word that I keep,
Compatible.
compatible, right. A feeling that is like less corporate and more Nevada City, just so it feels at home in a historic context. So,
Yeah, I guess I was looking at the ones that you passed when you went down. If you go up, there's a couple, like with the cup in the middle and the other one, if you go up further, there's even another one up further. There's no backs, but like, yeah, like that Penny Lane. That's, I don't know, I thought it was kind of consistent with some of those, but again, that's not,
yeah.
I understand like
The gradient makes it, in my opinion anyway, sleek. In fact, apparently all of our opinions.
Yeah.
And then just something that I feel is that it's really about 75 or 80% logo, this sign.
Yeah, that was the thing I know that you mentioned last time that I was thinking about too, that it is that. Yeah, for sure. And I know that's something that someone had mentioned. I don't know what that is, but they're referring to some code that you have in relationship to logo. But, you know, like the Penny Lane thing, that's also, I'm just to point it, I don't know if that's an example of a good sign or,
Well, it got approved.
but that doesn't necessarily mean it's
Doesn't
false.
necess-
Yeah,
Right.
so.
It doesn't
I
necessarily
recognize that.
set a precedent, and, you know, you can see why things like this need to be sort of decided by a group of people
Yeah.
with an aesthetic take. So I would, the thing that would make it seem to fit more comfortably for me, things, is a straight color, not the gradient.
Mhm.
Because the gradient can really only be arrived at by some sort of like technology, you know, like,
Mhm.
so some kind of straight color, gold leaf,
Or a darker color, I think. would be
Okay,
fine, too.
okay.
yeah. Somehow it seems appropriate for the name to be somewhat predominant, or at the very least equal in like real estate to the logo.
I think along those lines too, I sort of noticed this when Amy was talking about something feeling off about the text. The fact that everything is pretty much center justified, except for science, which is very small and in a different font, and off on the right, almost as like a footnote, just feels a little off too.
I think I get the intent behind the gesture.
Sure. Yeah,
I
it was,
see it.
it was their recommend, I actually had it a little bit different, like, a little bit more like what you guys are talking about.
yeah,
They- They were a little more excited, perhaps?
Yeah. So as presented, that is to say, the composition, I think the skewed placement of signs makes sense. However, it doesn't fit into the historic feel.
So basically,
So
make
I
it
would suggest
simpler,
centering it.
Center in it?
Yeah, I'd center
science?
science under rejuvenation somehow, and
I was thinking a consistent font as well.
The same font,
yeah,
but the
yeah.
size is okay to keep it small?
it could be kicked up one, but.
increase the size.
Of both of them,
Sign.
right? Rejuvenation and science, or?
I would make them equal size. I
Okay.
think. Or maybe.
Maybe put
if
them on
say-
one
say
line,
these two
equal
are
size.
14 to 10, I would take it in a closer ratio, like 14 to 12. Or I'm not
Uh-huh,
sure.
yeah, like make science bigger, at least.
Bring the science forward.
Mm-hmm. And then maybe lift it up from the bottom a little bit and make the logo smaller.
Yeah, or put the,
Essentially,
Yeah.
change the balance between the text and the logo.
right.
Mhm.
And I guess maybe a guiding principle would be, I mean, it's not, what would they do, what, you know, the old people in the old days would look at this and go, what, this is from Mars?
And that's what you're, okay, so that's kind of what to look at, okay.
So that it
Shoot,
feels,
I hired Will because I thought he was like on board with it. I didn't think he'd give me something that you wouldn't approve. But I kind of had a feeling that might happen. So,
it's hard to know exactly, and.
well, I would think with he's made so many signs for you guys, I thought, yeah, I kind of was hoping that he would. And I did actually say something about it, but it was kind of a smile and a nod. You know? So, okay, so I think what I'll do is make the kind of like reflective quality of this O and I just to be solid, flat. Basically flatten it and simple it, basically. Flatten it and simple it, and make it smaller, and then, yeah, and then fix the science and because if I increase the rejuvenation too much, it's going to be too much. I think, like you're saying, maybe put the science underneath it and center it, yeah.
Or, I mean, I would encourage you as well, just to shrink
Would
the
you-
OI a little bit to give the other two
Yeah,
words some space.
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, but it doesn't have much space left to right, and rejuvenation's a
I
big
see.
word, yeah. That being said, I won't be able to come back to approve it again, so I can send someone in my place,
Or we could set up a liaison as we.
or I could come by Zoom.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, we can do Zoom.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think the approval
Zoom
of
is fine.
your resubmittal would have to be the whole commission, not just the liaison, because it's a, it's such
We haven't approved it yet, so.
Yeah, it's such a, yeah,
There's enough changes, I probably wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
so,
Suggest continuation.
so we'll set another meeting, or like the next meeting, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be continued to the next one.
To continue to the next meeting.
Yeah, sorry for
Um,
the delay, you know. but,
Yeah, we've been there for 3 months, actually. So we've been setting up
Grimace-
for like 2.5
grimacing for
months.
you.
Yeah, it's a little, well, I'm actually moving out of the area. I'm moving to North Carolina. My wife's house burned down, or my ex-wife's house burned down. We co-parent. So she doesn't have a house anymore, didn't have insurance, she was up in Oregon House. And so she's moved to Asheville, and so we're trying to keep the co-parenting easy. So I'm actually moving out there. But I have a general manager, and yeah, going to try to retain some of the investment I've made, even though I won't be there to generate most of it. Yeah.
Well, Zoom will reach from,
Yeah,
From
yeah, I can
Asheville.
Zoom. And then we'll just be talking about to submit the new graphics, do I need to make all these?
No, I would just have Grass Valley Sign just send me.
Send you
the
an
new-
image?
Yeah.
Do they have your email?
Well, usually it would come from you, so they could give it to
So
you.
they'll give it to me and I'll.
They might have my email. They
Okay.
probably do somehow.
Yeah, no
but-
worries. Is it possible you could text or email me your email, just to make sure I have it on?
Yes, although I think I had to call you to let you know about this meeting because your
Yes,
email's
I
not
have
on.
that
so
message still.
I'll need your email address, that's all.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, perfect. I can give it to you now if you
Can-
want.
You want to leave it with Tanya at the
Yeah,
front? or-
and you have my number, you could always
I have your
just,
number.
you could always just text me the email,
Okay,
your
I'll-
email.
I'll give you, yeah, okay.
Make
I'll give you,
it
yeah.
simple, you already.
I think
Okay.
I left you my email on the message I left you, so,
Okay, so if it's on there, then I have it.
yes,
Okay.
okay, yeah, you should have it already.
Okay, thanks. All right. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, I kind of, yeah, because of the last comment of the logo being big, I kind of thought that it might be like that. And I understand a lot better the requirements. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, how about having
Yeah.
you move to Asheville?
Thank you, I heard it's a nice place.
I hear it's a nice place.
I've been there many times, it's
Yeah.
wonderful. And
Okay.
it's great food.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one yet. Thanks.
Okay, this is continued to our next regular meeting.
And the next applicant is not here. I don't think he's on. Oh, that Amy? Oh.
All right.
She gets 2 microphones.
So the next
So-
applicant is not here, and I have been in touch with him, and I did send him the agenda, so, and he definitely knew it was this, the meeting was today, so.
Well.
Was in at some
okay.
point during the meeting, and then,
Sounds
that'd be-
good. So we're
And
skipping.
then otherwise, we'd have to continue it. so.
Yeah. Trying to get the hang of this device.
So, no, me too.
It's doing things that I'm not asking it to do. Okay, so on to item 6, architectural review
I think.
for 210 Broad Street.
Ben, I believe this is your item, Ben Smith. If you can raise your hand and just verify, I think that, oh yeah, okay. This is him. So I'm moving Ben in. Ben, just give me a minute. I'm now navigating 2 devices, so it takes me a little bit longer to get down to things. This way I can have one on the screen, and then I can do my notes from another one. Okay, so Ben, I'm going to give a brief introduction, and then the commission may have some questions for you. So this was an application from Gold Country Roofing, and it involves the Alpha Building. The majority of the Alpha Building is, it's, at least in the front, it's surrounded by a parapet, so you can't really see the roofing. And that has been a membrane material, and it's been that way at least since I've been here. There is a small area of composition shingles in the back facing Commercial Street, and I'll pull up an image here. I couldn't quite tell from the aerial where that was. It might be right here, but you can kind of see it from, from Commercial Street. But they are asking to, you can see that this is the patch of composition shingle, and there's I guess it's off to the other side. So it's, there's a patch of composition shingle, and there's the Commercial Street parking lot. I think those are Three Forks tables and chairs, just to orient you. This is the diagram that they sent showing it somewhere. Oh yeah, so this kind of shows, I can't quite tell from this picture if all of this is composition shingle, and maybe or maybe you guys went out there. But I believe some of this will be visible from Commercial Street, just this top area. And they're asking to change all of it from composition shingle to this Duralast membrane material, which has come up now the last 3 planning commission meetings. But so they're asking to replace all of the roofing with that material.
Okay. So Ben, are you with us in an audible way? Testing. I can't hear him.
Ben, you're muted.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Oh.
Do you have anything to add to Amy's presentation about? It seems pretty straightforward, but if there's anything that you'd like to say.
Yeah, so it's, yeah, just in the pictures that you saw, tarps and titanium UDL underlayment is where shingles have been. And so we're just wanting to just go with a complete single ply PVC roofing material over the whole thing to make the entire roof watertight. We tried to tear off the shingles a couple of years ago, and the structural damage to that roof because of the hog valleys was so extensive that we actually had to stop and come up with a new plan.
Hence the tarps. Is that so the tarps have been up while you craft a new plan? Just curious.
Say that again?
What I'm just curious about your narrative. So what you tried to tear off the composition shingle stuff, and it was such a mess, you had to craft a new plan. And so the new plan was like an interim, the TARP phase?
When did the
Well,
tarps come in?
The tarp, yeah, the tarp was, about 2.5 years ago, and that was, while we were coming up with a new plan, yes.
Okay. Yeah, and demolition's occurring now, like, I saw people taking off roofing today, so you're underway. So, anything you'd like to add about the membrane?
I mean, it's gonna be similar to what you see there on the top. The top's a TPO right now. We're going to delete all of the equipment that's up there. We're just gonna run insulation and solid PVC deck sheets over the whole thing. So,
You say the equipment's
yeah,
being
that's what we
removed?
wanna do. That's what we're asking to do.
Like all the vents that are up
What's
there
that?
again? All the vents that are up there are going away? This is just me being
Yep.
curious. Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, do commissioners have any questions for Ben?
No questions from me.
Amy?
I have no questions.
Okay, is there any public comment on this item? No one in the House?
If anybody wants to make public comment virtually, please raise your virtual hand. And I only have one person in there, and he's here, I believe, for another item. So,
Okay. All right, any discussion?
I have nothing to discuss on this one.
I don't really have anything either.
I did look at it today, and I certainly see the point in not having another material up there that involves, piercing the membrane. So no composition sounds like a great idea. The elevation that's being shown on our screen here is, it shows, and I went and looked around, it's a really visible elevation of the roof that was done in composition, and there's a gray color that would be much more muted in terms of appearance than a bright white membrane, and if it's not a technical problem, a gray roofing membrane on this back elevation that was done in comp would be less attention grabbing than a bright white roof visible from Commercial Street and the environments. So that's my commentary on it. And I suppose there's a question in there if there's a practical problem or if you or the owner have an aesthetic problem. And I'd also like my fellow commissioners' opinion on that suggestion.
Thanks for that, Tom. I think that those are really good points.
Um,
It would be good to have something that's not bright white.
I don't know if there's any difference, though, in terms of reflectivity and cooling and such. White roofs are generally looked at these days for climate, energy reduction, things like that. Maybe the only thing that I would think would be that.
And the countervening point to that, I thought of that, it's true, I have a white roof on my house, and it works very nicely. But what percentage of roofing is gray versus white?
Oh, you're talking about just on that
Yeah,
one
just
face?
the part that shows.
Okay.
Because it's a bright thing and would really capture a lot of attention and detract from the architecture such as it is.
I see your point. I thought you were proposing making the whole thing.
No,
to that
which
white.
is, it's kind of an odd suggestion, but it would solve an aesthetic problem
Got it.
and wouldn't, I don't think, be technically problematic. So, Ben, are you catching all this?
I am. It is materially problematic.
Because of availability? Or can
Yep.
you describe that?
I can't get that. I just can't get the material.
Can't get the gray?
Nope. Nope. You
What-
can't get thermal polyolefin currently. You can only get PVC, and you can only get it in. You can basically only get it in white, and white is the only one that complies with California's Title 24.
Well, it'll get dirty.
It will. It definitely will.
Give it 1 week of smoke and wildfire, it'll get gray.
Oh, there's a solution.
We are heading into that season.
We are.
So you're saying that the gray color won't meet the energy requirements?
Is that the Green Building Code? I think?
Correct.
Yeah. California Green Building Code.
Does that hold water for you?
It does. I don't know that detail of it, but it makes sense to me that that's in there. I can't tell you that it is, but it seems consistent with other things that I am aware of in there.
Well, okay. Would anyone like to make a motion regarding?
Well,
this?
motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
All right, roll call.
Commissioner Brown
Yes.
and Vice Chair Cobden,
Yes.
Chair Nye,
Yes.
and Ermshar is recused, and Van Zant is absent.
Ben, I gotta ask, are you dipping right now?
Huh?
I'm so sorry, but are you dipping?
No?
Okay. I keep
No.
hearing what sounds like spitting. I'm just very distracted.
Oh, no, sorry about that. I was drinking a Diet Coke.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
I was drinking a Diet Coke.
For the folks at home, I'll frame that as an unofficial inquiry. Okay, Ben,
I
you're
thought we were
approved.
working on casual today.
You're approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you much. Thank you very much.
All right, you have a good one. We'll see you again.
All right. All right, see you.
I have to unlock this very smart device each time.
Oh, you do?
Mhm.
Poor Charlotte is the last on our agenda.
Yeah, poor
Sorry,
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Last?
Yeah. Do you- No, well, there's not too many, there's only one more before you. Oh, yeah.
Should we call Wendy back in?
Is she able
Yeah.
to come back in now?
Yes, yeah.
That's it.
I think so.
All right.
Let me see.
Commissioner Ermshar is de-recused, unrecused. We're moving on to item 7 now, 341 Long Street, window, corbel, and siding replacement.
Yes, and I think actually I missed it when I wrote that. It's actually, the corbels are being added, so.
There are corbels in the photographs, though.
Oh, are there?
Yeah.
I think he said that there, well, he might have to explain a little bit better than, I thought he told me that they were, I thought they were a replacement, and then I thought he told me that they were actually just being added. So hold on just one second, let me bring him on.
Hello?
Hi, friends. I'm going to do a brief introduction. There might be a few things that I didn't quite understand, and you might have to clarify, but let me give a brief staff report, and then the commission may have some questions for you, okay?
Can I interrupt you for a second?
yeah.
We didn't introduce or welcome our city attorney, Russell Hildebrand, just in case anyone in the public's wondering who that guy is at the bottom of the screen. And now back to you.
Here, let me make this, let me share my screen so you guys can see. All Okay, so this is an application by Barry and Wanda LaBerge, who are the property owners, and it's Franz. Franz, I'm going to butcher your last name, so I'm just going to let you introduce yourself when you get. Can you actually say your name?
Franz
Oh.
Veldhuizen.
Veldhuizen. Okay. So this is an application for architectural review for residential re-roof, re-siding, and window replacement and corbel addition or replacement. I'm not sure yet. The property does show up on an 1898 Sanborn map. However, the assessor's records indicate that this was constructed around 1910. And staff has previously approved a like-for-like roof replacement back in 2019. The proposal involves several exterior alterations, including an east and north elevations, the east facing the rear yard and the north facing the side yard. The existing windows are a mixture of aluminum slider, vinyl slider, and wood double hung, and the window and door trim details around all sides vary according to the contractor, Mr. Veldhuizen, thank you.
Veldhuizen.
The applicant will work on the south and the west elevations in the future with an overall objective to have the siding, windows, and trim details consistent on all sides. So today, on the north and, let's see, what I say, the north and the east elevations, he's proposing a re-roof, the upper story roof with the composition shingles, add a 2x4 skylight on the eastern roof face, add 3 corbels at the east facing gable, and we might need some clarification on whether or not that's an addition or that's, the corbels are replacing existing corbels. Remove existing wood siding and trim on the east and north sides of the house and replace with fiber cement product. Remove existing upper story wood shingles siding and replace with fiber cement shingles. Replace 4 windows on the eastern side with vinyl windows, 3 sliders and 1 single hung. And replace a second floor window with a white vinyl single hung window. And Franz, I had requested that you provide the material details for the replacement materials, and I don't think I've received anything unless you emailed me.
Oh, yeah, I did about a week and a half ago.
You sent me the materials you're using to replace?
Yes, I did. I can forward that email or resend that same email if you like.
Yeah, I wonder if it got.
There's all the, so what I did is catalog, a consumer catalog from Malarkey Roofing Products. I have a consumer catalog for James Hardy Siding, a consumer catalog for Plygem Windows, and for Miratech trim. The corner trim and the window casings are Miratech proposed.
Yeah, I don't think I have it. The last email I have is that you said you will be sending me the material, and I never got it. So it's possible it got caught in my spam, but I don't even see it in there, so.
Let me see, Amy. It just went out. It's a few megabytes, may take a few seconds.
Well, I wonder if that might be too large.
Oh, it's only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Oh, I think, the Velux is a big one. Yeah, it's about 17 megabytes in total. But the
That
Velux,
should be fine. I
is
think
the
ours
large.
will take up to 50, but.
for me, it takes only seconds. Closet that looks like wood, it'll be painted. The Velux skylight, I think most everyone knows what they look like. They have a dark anodized aluminum frame around them. It is a curb mount model. The Hardy Plank siding, they are like just about every other house in the street there has one of those. And it's all nothing peculiar about them.
Are there any questions from the commission?
Wall of windows.
Same manufacturer. I'm
No,
interpreting what you're.
Well, yes, that, but also to know if you're planning on replacing in kind, so to speak, that, or, I guess you know what, I am confused. I'm confused about whether or not the windows are all going to be replaced with new windows, but in the same conformation or not.
Yes, so the windows are going to be replaced, same style. The sliding windows will be replaced in the same style. Some of the the existing situation has a mixture of single glazed aluminum. I think we know what that looks like. And some of them are older vinyl windows, and some of them are older wood windows. In the gables that are now under consideration, there's only one wood window on the second floor. That's a double hung window. And that is on the east gable. We are proposing to add one window in the north gable on the west side of the north gable. That would be a new window. And it would be a double hung or single hung window.
So they want to replace vinyl windows with vinyl windows, but also wood with wood?
No, all the
No.
windows will be replaced with vinyl windows.
Saying the function of the window will be like for like. If it's a double hung wood window, it will be placed with a single hung vinyl, whereas if it's currently some sort of slider side to side, they want to replace with a vinyl slider side to side. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Functionally the same, and material-wise, we're just making them all the same rather than have a mixture of all different materials.
Okay.
And I have a question, the corbels, there's existing corbels, so you're planning on installing new?
Gables are on the two gables that we are not proposing to work on under this application. The east and the north gable that we are now working on, they don't have any corbels. So we're planning on putting some corbels there also to make it look like a cohesive design.
Yeah. I have a question about, so are these, your window replacements, are they replacement windows that sort of, let's see, the old sash pop out and then new sash pop in and you retain the same interior and exterior trim? Or are you replacing the trim?
No, we're planning on doing a full replacement as if it were new construction.
Right.
And that is typically a better way to do it. And the reason why people use the replacement windows, those insert things, is because that's a complete new unit.
Right, it's a good opportunity. So I'm wondering if you have plans for the trim details. Will the trim, the casings around the new windows match the existing, or are you planning some other scheme?
Again, so that is represented on the plan. There's like three sheets, A1, A2, and A3.
Sorry.
The existing casing vary. Like if you go around the house and you look at all the different windows, they all have different types of casings.
Right.
So what we're proposing is to do a 5/4 inch thick header or lintel. That will be, the top will be a 2x. The top lintel will be a 2x, and then the stiles will be 5/4 by 4. So the lintel on top will be a little bit thicker than the stile, and then there will be a kind of like a water table windowsill. This is a little bit sloped. It's kind of like the old-fashioned style.
That's what I was waiting
It's
to
got
hear.
the apron, yeah.
And yeah, because the existing deep aluminum windows that are in there now, they don't have that. And so we're trying to make the whole thing look consistent on all sides.
Great.
Anticipating also, like next year, doing the other two sides on a new application. And so we'll have to go through this again.
Other questions? I had a question.
I actually have a question about the partial approval, just because I've been privy to a similar approach, and I'm curious why you're not pursuing approval for the whole project at this point, as opposed to breaking it into two separate presentations.
Well, those are the owner's wishes. He has limited funds. He's still working full-time. He's doing the work mostly himself, and with the help of a carpenter or someone he works with. And so he split the whole thing in 3 phases. Last year, we did phase 1, which was replacing the roofing on the lower part of the building, the first floor. And so this year he wants to do the second floor and partial siding. And so next year he's retiring. In January he will be retiring. And then he'll have more time, and then he wants to tackle the rest of it.
An approval is, I'm just picking up where Wendy Ermshire left off, an approval is good for 2 years, is that correct?
Yeah, yes, that is right.
It looks like he's going to stretch this out and make it his retirement project. If more than 50% of the building is affected by a remodel, then the whole building will need to be brought up to current code. And that is a cumulative factor in a period of 5 years. He did phase 1 last year, phase 2 this year. Phase 3 might be like a couple of years from now
I see.
to avoid that cumulative effect.
Our questions regarding the extent of your approval are merely for curiosity. You can apply for whatever approval
Correct.
percentage of the project you'd like to at any time.
I think what the fellow commissioners intend is just to help you make it expedient.
Correct.
Yeah, to
Can
make
we
it easier.
Yeah, so far so good.
All right.
So I have a question regarding the siding. Have we gotten an email
Sample.
yet? I'm wondering if the profile of the siding, I know Hardy has many styles, including the lap siding or
Well, actually, so the lower part of the building will all be lap siding with a 7-inch exposure, which is pretty typical for that product. And then the upper part, where those end gables are, the triangular sections, they will be Hardy shingle. So it's kind of a little bit reminiscent of a craftsman style gable.
On some of the existing siding on the house, though, is it called Dolly Varden? There's a sort of
There is some of that, but again, the siding on the different sides, they are not all matching. It's also kind of a variation of product that has grown up over the years that people have been working on this home.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just so we can know we've done our due diligence, we'd like to see what the siding is.
Correct.
Yeah, and I don't have an email from you yet, Fran, so I wonder, can you just send me the links, and I can pull up the links?
Okay. So, well, the photos I see, I don't know if you can see, have a way of looking at the plans on that sheet A2. I think I have several photos of the existing siding, and you can see the upper parts. On the gable, photo 3 existing. You just had it there, I think. Photo 3. You look on the upper part. That is actually a side that we're not working on, but it just shows how the siding is different in different places.
we're still in the question phase, or are we in the discussion phase?
I'm on the question phase. So that looks like a V-groove lap on that side, photo 3. And photo 1 is the Dutch lap that we were discussing earlier. So I'm not sure which one you're proposing.
So it will be, the hardy lap is just a plain lap. The product
Goes like
itself
this.
is 5/16 thick. So the profile of the one overlapping the other is by that 5/16 thickness. And then there will be a 7-inch exposure, which is similar to what we have now.
Okay, so it's essentially a plank that laps.
I think
A
the
straight plank.
resulting profile is almost like a vinyl, right? When the vinyl became really popular, where it's,
Yeah,
that's
it's a ship lap thing. Or,
Right.
no, it goes like that.
at an angle.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just a straight piece. There's no,
But they don't lie flush.
They don't, yeah, they have just,
They,
like you said, 5/16,
yeah.
right.
almost.
Okay, all right.
A little under half an inch.
I think I understand it. Does everyone else understand it? Okay, okay, so discussion now. This proposal is as presented and as we now understand it. I'll just go in order, Rod.
I have no comments on it.
Okay, Wendy?
Well, part of my comment is in reaction to actually what the gentleman described, which was working towards a craftsman design, and I don't believe that is consistent with the Gold Rush period and also probably the original architecture of the home. And I do have some concerns, although I have seen it around town, the shiplap with that 5/16. I do think that's a little bit more of a modern profile that's been allowed before there were other profiles available in the hardy fiber cement. And I think they do have now maybe a Dutch lap. Is that correct?
You do, yeah. There are.
Cedar hewn siding. The other piece being about the shingles, I think it's a cute look. Again, this isn't about, whether it's an aesthetically pleasing design. It's more about the question of whether it is a historically congruent design with the Gold Rush era and the original architecture of the home. And so there are probably examples of the shingles for a contrasting siding application. I don't know if I can tell the organization of them, and so sometimes there's more of like a, I don't even know what it's called, but like a wood chip roofing style kind of ace, in.
It's kind of random exposures.
Yes, and I'm not sure if what style would be most historically appropriate on technically a, simple Victorian building. So I think I'd want to see a more detailed view of that. And then the final piece would be, feedback would be regarding the vinyl windows, the gliders, if those can be avoided in places, I think it actually makes the home live and feel more charming and more things that are not facing the street and they're not visible to neighbors who are hoping to live in a historical neighborhood, then I suppose I don't know if I mind as much, if that's reasonable.
So there is only one gable really facing the street, which is the west gable. The other ones are away from the streets.
You can see on sheet 8.
So I'm not sure if that matters.
So there you can see the,
Yeah, that's sort of the pattern.
yeah.
I'll add the random shingle treatment, random exposure shingle treatment on the gable.
It's on the east elevation.
Actually, I don't think that has been decided yet, so I think we're open for recommendations on that.
I see it on sheet A3 on the east elevation there.
It's slow scrolling on for me.
So that is yeah, what you're seeing now is a gable that we're not proposing to work on right now. But in the future, there will be a belly band under that window to create a separation between the upper and lower part,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then the
there's a-
part above
yeah,
the belly
color
band.
image too,
If you go
yeah.
to one of the gables where we are working, the east or north, then you'll see the belly bands there. On the actually, I can't. My video is blocking the view of that thing. Yeah. Oh well. Right. If you look at, there's a number marker. It says B4, and that is a belly band that, if you can visualize that, it will wrap around the whole house on all sides in the future. Once we're going for phase 3, and that will create on the west and south elevations that separation where the shingles will be.
Okay, so the belly band is proposed to go kind of, so looking at the photo 3 above your drawings, where the roof line, the lower like shed roof meets the wall, that's about the height of the belly band that'll go around the building?
Yes, exactly there. Right, that belly band is going right underneath that window on the where your cursor is.
Right.
There's a belly band right on the roof line.
Is-
That then wraps around to the left and then to the front as well.
Amy, can you go to this view, maybe? I don't, and
Okay,
is that? Yeah, that's first.
all right. Amy Cobden, do you have any commentary?
I do. I think quite simple. I am also in favor of a Dutch lap, and I am opposed to the shingles. I'm almost always opposed to a shingle interruption for many reasons, but I agree with what Commissioner Ermshar said, that it should be consistent. Or at least there's more of a cohesive look. So that's where I stand on that. I think that the other things that you're doing are wonderful. I'm really excited to see this house taken care of and brought to a more cohesive state. I think that you've done a really thoughtful job so far. My only complaints are the shingles and the particular style of Hardy.
Yeah, would you like to respond?
Yeah, you mentioned you're opposed to shingles for various reasons. Can I know why?
Some personal, some functional. Right. I think architecturally, it's just I hesitate here because I'm not an historian and I'm new to this. But my impression is that in traditional Victorian architecture, it's fairly rare to see the kind of shingling that you're proposing. There is the fish scale, which is common. I can see that working here, although I'm not sure if this is what you would expect to see on a house like this. Maybe something more grand in the sense of what we see on Main Street that reflects like what you would see in San Francisco at the time. But on a smaller home like this one, it just doesn't seem consistent to me. Another reason is I think that when done with more modern, the aesthetic of a modern home that's built in the style of older homes with new materials. And I think to avoid that kind of aesthetic, it would be my preference, or I would encourage you to just try and keep everything in one consistent style. I'm tap dancing a little bit around the issue, just
I agree
to
with
be
you.
diplomatic.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the fish scale is a great example. And again, I guess that's what I was vaguely referencing, was something like that where it does exist, and typically it is on a grander Victorian that is embellished more with gingerbread and so on and so forth. I would add too that the belly band doesn't feel like a traditional.
I have opinions also. So the the background of this house, the subject residence is depicted on the 1898 Sanborn map. It was constructed around 1910, and it looks to me like a house that was built in like somewhere between 1920 and 1930, which means it's been remodeled and improved. I don't know if you can see my air quotes. So like the window trim is all kind of incorrect. There would be a water table like sill detail, like you mentioned, doing. And I also feel so it looks currently like a house built in 1920, and within our our authority, certainly we can't ask for a project to be brought back to some time that we imagine that it was. That's sort of contemporary with the arts and crafts period. And I sort of went around the neighborhood today, and there's some nice, very nice, clean, restoration-y looking houses in this apparent period. And simplicity is kind of the key to, I don't know, having a restored look. I agree with Amy Cobden regarding, modern reproductions of historic-y feeling older materials. Simplicity is kind of the safe path to tread. I just spot it a mile away as modern, and I don't know what the cost differential is between just the straight 5/16 lap and the Dutch lap that Amy and Wendy and I prefer. I'm a little bit of a nerd about this restoration stuff because I've done a bit of the work, and you've done a beautiful job of presenting it, and the house definitely will be much, much happier when the improvements are done. I would be a fan, however, of head and side casings, or stiles as you called them, and then the sill or water table treatment that you mentioned is, that's thrilling, and when that is restored to a house that's been improved, air quotes again, it really brings it back into a really historic feel. So I would just personally strongly encourage simplifying the trim, and actually I'm fine with the belly band that coincides with the sill line on the upper story windows, and as long as the shingle treatment is simple and not random exposure, which can be, it's like a comment on historic stuff rather than historic stuff. It makes it sort of is a theatrical gesture, which is cool. But just personally, I'd prefer to see just shingles of an equal exposure up to your belly band. So that's my way in. So would you like to respond?
Yeah, I think this is like a brainstorming session. And, yeah, I think the owner is open to these ideas. There's a very great concern about cost. Extra costs would be associated with that. I think if it exists, it would be a thicker product to make that happen.
That's likely,
Which-
yeah.
They do have it.
Might double the price, so I think there would be a bit of resistance against doing that. As for the casing, yeah, I don't think there's a problem with, I think with the headers we proposed, for those windows, the little heavier product, they would also protrude sideways. I think they're referred to as ears. So the header would be a little wider than the width of the window, including the casings. So if we just eliminate that and match the existing casings as they are on some of the windows now, that means there would be just a kind of a a square frame around the window. I don't see a problem with that.
I think of just, I'm just going to throw in, I think of the heavier head casing as an adoption from interior, like arts and crafts period trim work, where there's like a 5/4 head casing and then it's over, it hangs over the vertical casings. So it's just, it's a bit of an adoption from another context, I think. So if the owners are amenable and find it interesting enough to adopt what you reappropriation, which would be our preference, and I think it would be a real addition to the neighborhood as well.
Yeah. So, if I can, so the siding. I think I would have a hard time trying to convince him or them, Wanda and Barry, to invest that kind of money in the siding. And I think they really want to have that plank lap siding. And if the shingles would be objectionable, then we would want to take that up to the top gable as well. The casing, I think, is fine. The shingles, whether they are going to be the equal shingles as you were referring to, rather than the random or the fish scale type, we can go either way. I thought it would be a nice, also with the coloring scheme, if you did the lap siding all the way to the top and eliminate the shingles, there's really no need for that belly band at all. So we could just have the whole, all the gables painted in that color proposed, which is, I've got gray beard or something like that.
You mean still do the color change without a belly band?
Eliminate the color change.
Oh, I see.
Because, if you did the lap siding above the belly band and the lap siding below the belly more, I don't know.
Can I ask a question? I'm looking at the front of the house, which in your renderings is depicted with the belly band, but I can't say that my eye can reconcile the location of the belly band. It looks higher than what the bottom of this current window is. Are the windows changing size, or is that just an illusion?
No, actually, that particular window stays the same. Well, there is another issue with the window, not on this gable. This window is, let's see, it is actually, this window is not part of the proposed situation right now. We're not proposing to do this window in this application.
Yeah.
But in phase 3, this window is in a bedroom and it needs to be an egress window. And the current window doesn't comply as a, and that is we can't raise the header because it's too close to the roof line already, to the eaves. So the only way to solve that would be to make the sill lower, which would kind of bring us below the belly band. And so what we did instead for phase 3, which we're not doing right now, but eventually, is to make that double hung window into a casement window, and the casement window would have a horizontal divider in it to kind of make it look like a double hung window, but then it would open as one panel, which would meet egress requirement.
That makes sense. Does that answer your question, Wendy? And a question came up for me also, which actually affects the siding. You're proposing corner boards. So the siding will meet a corner board at the building corners?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Which are not present everywhere at this time.
It's a real salad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I guess while, I think there's been some good discussion and brainstorming, as you put it. I forgot to tell you that I'm excited that they want to improve this home. Clearly, there's been some deferred maintenance, and I appreciate that somebody, I understand that there's some phases which builds in also the opportunity for the planning commission to weigh on further details. And that said, choices on the siding, would be something that needs to be carried through on the total sum of the project. And I can't help but take note of the 3D images. It feels like incrementally removing the character of the architecture that is sort of original, like the post on the front porch, moving from a Dutch lap to a lap. I'm glad to hear that you're open to removing the belly band and using, siding that is the same throughout the project. But some of those things, in aggregate, to me, definitely tiptoe into the realm of what Amy was describing as really a modern architectural style that is trying to kind of look old-fashioned. And so I feel pretty firm about the Dutch lap. I mean, there was a time where the hardy fiber cement was not allowed, and in fact, we had folks who were getting custom milled Dutch lap cedar siding to match the profile of their home. And I think a Firewise choice is a great evolution comparatively. I just would hate to see all of our neighborhoods, and I can tell you, I have personal experience with the lap siding in my neighborhood, and it definitely does not look historic.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to represent the owners here. There are several homes in the street, like neighboring homes.
Right.
And one of you just mentioned, you walk through the street there, you will see that there are several homes that have this fiber cement lap siding. And I'm sure the owner will be upset to hear that they were allowed to do it and he's not allowed to do it. And so how can I explain that to him?
Yeah. Well, I'm one opinion on a planning commission, so my opinion doesn't automatically represent the rest of my peers. In terms of feeling pretty firm, the homeowners myself, I don't know the cost difference, so perhaps it's quasi negligible anyway. We can hope so. And if it's not, what I would say is there was this interim period where we were straddled with either telling people they had to use literally custom milled cedar wood to replace their homes, or they couldn't do it at all, to recognizing this opportunity to evolve in more modern and more fire durable materials, where indeed we did approve some. I wasn't on the commission at the time. But there are some approvals in there. Or there could be some that were done without approval and nobody noticed, right? I mean, I don't know if all the neighbors got approval for their siding. I couldn't say so. And so, to me, if there were some that were approved, it should be specifically because the product did not.
I can jump in.
Yeah.
It seems like we don't know what the cost differential is yet, and it would be really helpful to have
Right.
some clear examples in front of us where we could weigh that into consideration, because we want to help you. We're not trying to obstruct the process.
Yeah,
And, our end of things is just trying to toe a line in order to set precedent for the next person who comes up and has the same issue. So I wonder, where are we at as a group? Are we ready? Do we think that we're actually ready to vote, or do we want to continue? Sorry to jump in on,
No,
This is-
please. This is a
Yes.
round robin discussion.
Unless there are people who feel so compelled that you have enough information, and I'm the only one who doesn't.
well, I would love to see you guys get going. I know
Yeah.
that there's always a sense of urgency and timing on part of the applicant. Without the specifics of the materials, though, it's really difficult for us to make a decision.
So I'll jump back in. My take is since you and I assume the owners are willing to do a simpler treatment that is humble and kind of in keeping in the style of the house as it exists, which includes eliminating the belly band and using one siding treatment all the way up and no shingles. Simply the Dutch lap siding, personally, and if it were revenue neutral, if it were the client's preference, I think it'd be great to see it. But since it's enclosed with corner boards on the corners, we don't see the mitered, I don't know how to indicate it with my hands, but we don't see the laps mitering at the corner. They meet at corner boards, which is a really traditional treatment and kind of conceals the straight laps. I'm sort of more neutral about it than my fellows are, though I think if they were to prevail on this point, I would like to ask you: is it a hardship to continue until? Would it be a hardship for you to continue the approval till the next meeting? If that's a question.
Yeah, yes, it is, but I don't know if it is unsurmountable. I can, after we leave this meeting, I will have a meeting with the owners, and I will highly recommend this Dutch lap, and we can do a little investigation on the cost analysis of what that would change.
How many windows are on this?
Oh,
Because we might be able to approve the windows, that they could order them. I know there's a lot of back orders on supplies, building
Yeah,
supplies.
there's a time frame
Great
involved
point.
in that.
yeah. And I would say also personally, I haven't mentioned windows, but I mean, my preference would be double hungs everywhere,
Yes.
or single hungs, because they look the same. But we don't really have, any authority or mandate to ask that of you. And if the functionality of sliders, if you'd like to replace sliders with sliders, I think that's fine. So I'm fine with the mixture of window styles that you have. And I'm sorry if we seem so terribly difficult here, but you're representing your client.
Nope, you're very welcome. I appreciate the compliments of representing them well. I'll have to represent you when I talk with them.
Well said.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if we could approve the windows, and I'm personally okay to approve the skylight as well, to
Yes.
get those
And
things
the
going.
window trim,
And the window trim, I mean, the window trim won't come in until they,
but they might need to order
Siding.
materials.
Sure.
I have no idea,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and
The trim will go up before the siding, actually, because the siding butts
butts in, yeah. Okay.
which is the good way to do it. There are other ways to do it, and that's the good way. And this is smooth Miratec, right? It's not textured like fake wood.
Right. Usually like glossy smooth.
Right.
Right.
It has a little roughness.
And what's
a
the
little-
and
little
what's the
tooth.
width of it?
No, we were actually thinking about that. At this point, we were proposing 6-inch or 5.5-inch for the headers and 3.5-inch for the stiles. But I think the owner might be interested in doing the 5.5-inch all the way around, especially if we're not doing the extra thick, or not extra thick. If the thickness of the header is the same as the thickness of the stiles all the way around, except for the sill.
Right. I think that's more
Right, and speaking.
historically accurate, is the
and-
same width around.
Yes, and speaking strictly for me, if the corner boards can be 3.5, that would be more correct, because if you view the corner boards sort of not, yeah, they'd be very wide if they were 5.5 on both sides of the corner.
Yes.
Don't you agree? So 3.5, I think, would be appropriate for corner boards.
I want to say
If you
that
agree. I mean, do you agree? That's my question.
the house might have 5-inch corner boards. All the trim in that house was oversized. It was,
It happens.
but I like it. I think it works. So I have
Corner
no,
boards.
no, giant corner
Oh.
boards.
Yeah,
They used what they had probably, right?
yeah.
Would this be about a 3.5?
Those look like 3.5. The existing verticals that separate
And there's a corner board.
sections,
Yeah.
those look like they're like they're 3.5. I can see the case for a 5.5 casing, but I think the corner boards, especially if you're not looking at it in elevation view, it'll add up to look like 5-ish, when you look at it from any sort of normal perspective. So, yeah, I feel pretty strongly that 5.5 is too wide for corner board. And this will be a net addition to the neighborhood, not just keeping up with the Joneses, but raising the bar slightly for the Joneses as well.
I'd also like to add, I think that the color scheme looks great.
Want to say something about Corbels?
No, I'm just saying, can we approve those as well? I don't have any comments on them, but if we're all in agreement, we can add that to the list we're approving today.
Great.
Yep, I'm fine with the Corbels.
Bring on the Corbels.
So all those aspects are approved, and the only thing that remains is the choice of siting, and if it's compellingly more expensive for the Dutch lap, and/or the clients just hate it, that'll come up. That'll come up.
I don't think they'll hate it. I think it is their intention to continue to do that. So we're basically fixing up a rental.
Okay.
So one additional consideration then on siding style is maybe that V groove, to
Yeah, the
me,
V
is the
groove also,
next
yeah.
most historical looking. Like there is maybe on this back, I don't know what direction this one's facing, but it's usually made out of pine with the V groove, right? So that could be,
Yeah, and that again is a thicker material than the 5/16. And it's kind of in the same, probably economic category as the Dutch lap. And I'm neutral about those two personally, because they're both pretty correct historic. How do we proceed from here?
I would make a motion, I would suggest that one of you make a motion to approve the windows as presented,
they're not as presented.
Oh,
the
sorry.
windows. The windows might be, sorry, windows. The
So-
window trim is not as presented though.
Right, so,
Okay,
so the windows as presented, the corbels as presented, replacing those, and the re-roof, which was like for like, but, was there something else? Windows,
And the window trim is approved to be replaced with whatever the dimensions are, right?
Right, 5.5, equal size head casing and side
Tiles.
casings at 5.5.
yep. So that's what I would, so I'd make that a condition of approval, so.
Yeah.
And the corners,
Yeah.
Thanks,
Would
Rob.
you like to jump in?
So I'm making notes.
Yeah.
So the windows as proposed, corbels as proposed, the re-roof as proposed, window trim, same thickness, 5.5 inches on 3 sides with the sill at the bottom. Corner trim, 3.5 inches wide, and also the same thickness as the window trim.
Right,
Sounds good.
yes. And the skylight.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah, it's
and
skylight.
as well.
And the colors. So the
And the
And the
colors.
colors.
And the colors.
Yeah.
The colors are, it's outside the,
That's the only thing at this point. And the siding, we don't know yet.
yeah, the siding we will continue, I think, is what I meant.
Because the commission strongly prefers the Dutch lap,
Or V side.
or V groove, your preference, the
Right.
straight lap is not preferable.
Right.
And there, heck, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, there might be savings in simplifying the siding
Right.
detail because, and
And removing the belly band.
eliminating the belly band and the shingle treatment, I think we arrived at that, is that correct?
In the proposed situation, we have the bottom belly band and the middle section belly band. So we could eliminate both belly bands because, you know, it's kind of an accent that we're trying to eliminate to simplify the look.
Oh, at the base, I see, it's a detail B3 on,
Oh, yeah.
on the drawing, it's the B3 detail.
Yeah,
See it?
certainly.
Yeah, well, I agree with you.
You
have
can
to
see the
take it
3D
out.
view too, yeah.
Right?
Yep, simplicity, yes. So no belly bands plural.
Okay. So now so Nevada County Building Department is ready to issue this permit. How can we communicate to them that these are the conditions?
They wouldn't release it until we approve it, and so you'd have to get me revised plans,
Okay,
but it won't show the siding yet, right, because we haven't approved the siding, so.
do we need to wait for the next meeting next month, or can we say, if I give you this revised plan, that you can do like an in-between executive decision?
If for some reason they really feel like they want to come back, they can.
And then if you do that, I'd suggest you have a liaison
Okay.
to look it over with me.
You know, if they prefer the aesthetic and it's a wash on removing belly bands, it's a wash on, you know, financially for them, then they're not having to wait for us, they can go.
Did all that make sense? Approval with the Dutch lap or V-groove siding? And I'll say again, it would make for a really, really beautiful project.
It'll be pretty, yeah.
And that way, if it is extraordinarily cost prohibitive, they could come back with an appeal or just come back?
Just come back
Yeah,
and
they can
change.
just come
Okay.
back.
Well, we'd have a liaison who would make the decision.
You could, and if the liaison didn't feel like they could, I mean, so the trims, header and stiles be 5.5 inches, corner boards be 3.5 inches, eliminate the belly boards, and then,
Belly bands, just,
that's what I wrote, I said belly band.
okay.
And then replace the siding with a Dutch lap or groove style.
Right, if whatever they want in that regard is appropriate, or do they have to use fiber cement now?
You don't have to, I think you can treat wood
Yeah,
to meet the fire safe standards, but it's probably more cost effective to use the fiber cement, is my guess, but I don't know.
Right, there's
pre-primed.
no reason to
Yeah.
leave it an open question. So.
Or the V-groove, then what?
They would have to.
Then
They come back.
the liaison could approve a substitute material.
Or the liaison could say that they don't feel that, that it's in keeping with what the commission has approved, and they can recommend
So
they come
do
back.
do we need to capture that in what we're saying then, that we're
If you,
authorizing the
Yeah, I would-
liaison to make that change?
yes,
Because
yeah,
otherwise they're, yeah, okay.
I would say that, yeah.
Or maybe, just a suggestion, put a dollar amount on it, say if it is more than $1,000 more expensive, or if it is more than 10% more expensive.
budgets everyone's is different, so we
Right.
can't say what becomes cost prohibitive or not. And so, again, that's where my personal point of view is to try to give you as many options as possible, whether it's wood, fiber cement, 2 different styles in each of those materials, and find the one that is most cost effective. and do that, as opposed to trying, honestly, even trying to build in the right to appeal, or, I mean, there's always the right to formally appeal, but build in this contingency of, but if they don't like it, then come back to us and we'll say okay on the lap siding.
So for
If
clarity,
I may, one more thing, as I mentioned, it is a rental.
Right,
And from the photos, you can see what state the building is in right now. And, you know, if we want to provide rentals that are affordable, the more we can keep the cost down, the better it would be. You know, if this results in the owner having to raise the rent to recoup his investment, then, you know, that would be also something to consider.
I think that it's good to leave it to a liaison to make that call.
I think if we're doing that, though, we need to approve the use of that material, though, because otherwise we're saying that a liaison or some member of the commission can change the action of the commission, because
I thought two options that we've given are way far exceeding what the applicants would like. They have the option of saying, bring it back to commission.
well, they always have that option, right?
So I think what you're saying, what I'm hearing is that you're wanting to condition it with a preference for the Dutch lap or the B groove siding, wood or fiber cement. Or, you know, if the liaison determines that the case has been made, that those are, you know.
I think that's the key thing. If we're in agreement that that's what we want, we capture that in the motion, that we're empowering the liaison to do that based in his judgment, as opposed to just saying, we only approve these two things, and then somehow we have to capture that we're empowering him, is my point.
Yeah,
Right,
I
and
see
is the commission willing to do that if the case can be made abundantly that the cost differential between the two materials is compelling? So
because it's so subjective.
It is a bit of a gray area.
It's really subjective between any of us, what is cost prohibitive, between every other homeowner in the town, what is cost prohibitive, and then what is the point of this commission?
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
So I get your point. Essentially, one individual being sufficiently convinced by, and this doesn't indicate, by the way, that the commission wouldn't reconsider it in a very fair and even-handed way. It's just the commission, what Wendy's saying makes sense to me, and because it's liaison decisions are usually much smaller in terms of the overall impact on the project, and this is a little bit of a stretch of that authority. So I think we're at a motion condition as we've come up with to approve Dutch lap or V-groove, and everything else is a total go-ahead, you know, roofing, windows, so you can order your stuff and get moving, and then you come back to the commission if you just can't do, if you have a fatal,
With all the stuff you said before. Yes.
The window trims and the corner boards and, yeah, removing the belly band.
Right.
I second, yeah.
Yeah, great.
That was Cobden.
Apparently.
And then Ermshire.
And a roll call.
I'm Brown.
It was Ermshire. That's fine.
Commissioner Brown.
It was Ermshire.
Commissioner
Yes.
Brown? Yes, okay. Commissioner Ermshire.
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden.
Yes.
And Chair Nye.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you so much, Franz.
Yeah, thank you for working
Thank
through
you.
this.
Very nice.
Please, you're very good at communicating
Yes.
this stuff, communicating with us, so I compliment you on that. I appreciate your spirit.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Have a nice afternoon. Signing off.
Same to you. Thanks.
Bye.
Next one, we have Charlotte here.
Hi, Charlotte.
At last.
I know, I'm sorry, Charlotte, earlier.
How are we doing?
Yeah.
So, Ms. Dewar owns a property that is depicted on the 1898 Sanborn map and the 1912 Sanborn map. It's the former Marsh House.
Marsh House,
Which was which had a lumber mill in it, which is now the city's yard, courtyard. At 254 Boulder Street, she's proposing a ground-mounted solar array. And then just so you guys know, generally residential solar is approved at staff level, though it's staff level only if it's on the roof. So a ground-mounted array still needs to go through the architectural review processes as a new structure. And so in light of that, the finding that I made, I tweaked it a little bit, saying that because it's not visible, you could find that it was compatible with Nevada City architecture, because clearly they did not have solar arrays back in 1898, and that it was, because it's obscured from from public views, that it's not incompatible with the context of the neighborhood. So just so you know, I've tweaked the findings there for you guys. But this is a proposal to install 18 panels, ground-mounted, east of the existing residence. The solar array is expected to be obscured from all public views, as it will be situated behind the neighboring residence. Her property kind of, you can kind of see it on the screen, but it keys over a bit. And there's a residence right in front of it facing Boulder Street. And I think that's really the extent of it.
Okay, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, solar. So I think the last 2 or 3 years, because of the outages and the big storm we had last December, really was very disruptive of life. And I always loved solar. I think it's free energy, it's clean, it's wonderful. But I was a little concerned about putting them on the roof of my historic building. That's why I'm willing to spend extra money to mount it on the side, which is the old orchard, and it's completely open. There's nothing there. My wonderful neighbor Roger Smith, I have him come over. I showed him this is going to be solar right here in front, not right in front of your eye, but close. He said he's such a green guy, and he said, "Oh, I love it." So that's pretty much. I could put it over the roof, but giving the Marsh House status, I feel it's very important. I don't do that because I don't like to see it on my roof, and this way nobody can see it, including myself, other than Roger. And Roger is totally fine. And Roger has trees in front of his property. Yeah, that's where Roger is back there. You see those old carpet? That's where the solar would be, 18 panel. And
Is that roughly the size of
Yes.
of the array?
Yes, a little bit smaller than that. I'm putting the rug because I want to keep the grass from growing again. I did research. I found this amazing kit, very efficient, very highly powerful, with 2 wall battery, about this size each, and 2 inverter, and 18 panel. And then the plan is I will still connect it with the PG&E line. So I'm not selling any extra because I'm not interested. But in case we have stormy days and there's no solar, there's no power, PG&E automatically kick in. And my wonderful friend, he did the exact same installation himself in the woods in, I think, Rough and Ready. And so I visited, I looked at it, and it's amazing. He's completely off-grid. He's like me. He's connecting to PG&E in case. It hasn't been in case yet. Since he started operation April this year, it's been just going beautiful. So I'm very excited,
Yeah.
actually.
That's great.
Yeah.
Any questions from the commissioners?
No, I think that was a helpful, description.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Reading your application, I'm all, yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah. And I told all my neighbors, they're now all looking at possibilities. They said, oh, I wish we could do it, but none of them have the large open space like me. They have to put it on the roof, and a lot of neighbors have trees around their houses. Here, I have just open 10-hour sun. Lots of free sunshine there.
Something that's nice about this design is it makes it easier to clean it as well.
That's it.
Yeah.
Other than hiring someone to climb the roof. And also, I have neighbors who put it on the roof, and it's guaranteed it's not going to leak, but it leaks. And then you have to repair the roof. For me, just imagine the Marsh house. I have to rip the roof, take the solar panel off. It's a mess. So I said, well, it's much better for the long run. Cleaning is a big deal. You have to clean every year. Yeah.
Do we have any public comment? No, no one here. Anyone online like to comment? Yeah.
Matthew, you can address the commission?
Yes, I've been waiting for that combination of words, public comment, because I didn't hear it in the last
Oh.
subject matter.
Oh,
Yeah, this is awesome. Solar's awesome. One thing the county had a problem with on the solar array out by the Willow is that it's too low to the ground, so they can't use goats because the goats will jump up on the panels. So they've got a problem now with keeping that area void of vegetation.
The
So they've
goats?
tried sheep, I think, this time, because they don't jump as high, I guess.
What's that? I didn't hear.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I think it's, I'm all about solar. I love it. It's great, and something I just want to bring up to you guys connected to it. It's just efficiency. When, a lot of people want more solar, more this, more that, but when lights are left on all day long, every day, it just depletes the system, basically, and demands more input, because there is no such thing as green energy or free energy. We're digging in the earth to make the aluminum frames for the panel, as well as the shipping and everything that goes with them. So payback on them takes a lot of years to actually get your money back out of them. But for those of us that prefer to do the right thing, solar's the way to go, so I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew.
thanks for your comments.
What did you say about something jumping?
So apparently the solar array by the Willow restaurant, they were previously maybe using goats to keep the grass low,
vegetation.
the vegetation.
Oh.
And so I think what he's saying is they can't use goats anymore, they have to use sheep. So they're trying, because they don't jump as much.
Goats are
climbers.
extremely jumpy.
Yeah, they are. They're climbers.
They know how to have fun, those goats.
Really do.
Any commission discussion?
I appreciate that you have consulted and conferred with your neighbors and made them a part of the process. I think that's very neighborly and recognizing if there were a potential impact. So thank you for that. And I don't see any reason I wouldn't approve.
And I'd like to say that. My only concern was what the neighbors, how the neighbors might feel about looking at the array. And also, I went to your house this morning, and what a roof. What a beautiful roof.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful
So-
house. Did you know
Yeah.
that I just repainted the house last year?
It looks wonderful.
The new color, all the neighbors love it. It's very gold country.
It makes my mouth water slightly
I'm
looking at your house.
very happy with the result. Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and yeah, excellent. I have no issues at all, negative problems.
Thank you so much for waiting through our entire meeting
Oh,
for
no
this very easy
I
decision.
learned a lot. I get to know you guys more. Thank you.
Someday I'll figure out how to organize the agenda. a
No
little
shade
bit.
at you, Amy.
No, it's very educational for me. I appreciate this opportunity.
Well, without further ado then, I think
I
a motion.
move to approve
I second.
solar array
All right, roll call.
as presented.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Ermshar?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden?
Yes.
Chair Nye?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0 and 1 absent.
I thought we had 5 commissioners, only 4 now?
One absent.
He's absent today.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes they vacation. Thanks for coming in person, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Amy.
So there's an item left, which is the historic sign.
Wait, there is? Oh.
Yeah, we
Oh, yes, I wrote to him. I wrote to him
Oh,
and
yeah, of
did
course.
not. I don't think he's gotten back to me. Let me just double check.
On the breakaway stuff?
I sent him an email. He hasn't responded. So my guess is he just forgot.
Okay, well, so we'll continue that till the
Yeah.
next regular meeting?
Yep.
I'm trying to find an agenda here, see if is there anything left?
No, except that I need to move our October meeting because I'm going to be in Hawaii on the day of our regular meeting. So we had to do a special meeting and cancel our regular meeting. And it's helpful for me to do it early so that I can get word out that people need to get me their stuff early if they want to try to make that meeting. And then I just wanted to make sure that will work for you guys.
I'm fine with that.
Me too. Yeah, same here.
Okay, and then that's
So
all.
moved, seconded, and approved. Well,
The judge, the jury, and the execution
wait,
over
wait,
here.
where's my gavel? So with that, we're adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.